refrigerator art for the show. Show your support with your talent at canarycry.party. Your mom will thank you.
Yo, you curious about blockchain technology? Your boys Basil and Gons at CCNT have gone full crypto bro. Tune in to your favorite Sigma males and discover the world of blah blah blockchain. Don't miss out, fam. Join the ride and level up your crypto game.
Investing in cryptocurrency involves significant risk and can result in substantial or complete loss of funds. The information provided by CCNT, Basil and Gons is for educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Always conduct your own research and consult with a professional financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Razzle Dazzle, it's Body by Basil, the new exciting fitness craze that will get you Canary cry swole in no time at all. Just listen to these quotes from our participants. My muscles are huge. It's all or Nephilim. You'll be an apocalypse warlord in no time. Don't wait. Order today and save 33% for just 4 easy payments of only $33.33. You too can have the body of a googly eye VR headset wearing Nephilim warlord.
A new, raw deconstruction of news and analysis. Introducing Canary Cry New Stalk, the new intense fragrance made specifically for thinking outside the cage. From your favorite podcasters, Basil and Gons.
Gons, can you hear me? I'm hearing reports about a prototype Flippy arm.
Don't tell me. Flippy is coming for our jobs.
That's right. You know what this means.
Yeah, it's wake-up time. Think outside the cage.
Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everybody. This is Gons. I'm here. Ready to do another episode. Basil was here, and then now he's not. But it's okay. He's traveling. It's late where he is. It's late night where he's at, so gave him a break. And hopefully he'll be back Wednesday is the plan anyway. In the meantime, the show must go on. So you get me ranting for a couple hours again. Trying to get this text message out. If you're here already, thank you. Oh, by the way, we got another strike on YouTube. Seems to be a trend. It happens to us a lot. Happens to us a lot. And it's just part of the deal. Part of the deal. For whatever reason, our existence on the internet is just unwelcome in many of the platforms that we use to get out there. Okay, where is this password thing? I'm trying to get this password to textedly so I can text everybody out, but nobody's giving me the password. Oh boy. All right, we're down to 2 minutes. Come on. Come on, back-end servers. You guys can do it. You can do it. See, this is the scary part. If the machines start having feelings, having conversations like that is going to matter, you know? Like, hey, you could do it. You could do it back there. I don't know. I don't know what to call it. Some network. They'll have a name. Friendly AI, friendly program, friendly software. Big fuzzy software, you're good. You can do it. You can send me the link to get into this application so I can send a text message to everybody. You can do it. You are capable. In fact, you are so capable that some people think you're God. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Okay, I don't know if I'm getting this password. Or it's going to come... Oh, let me check the spam here. Let's do spam. Spam. Nope, nothing in spam. You know, hey, not surprising. Oh, is it there? Did it come? There it is. There it is. There it is. Yes, there we go. All right, what do we got? 46 seconds. I like the time crunch. If you've ever done live anything, like on air, and there's a countdown clock, it really tests your ability to operate under pressure. I'll just say that. It's a test. It's all a test. All right, text message is you text the word Canary to 877-740-3226, and we will get going here. All right. Sorry, folks, didn't have time to read all the intros or read all the messages on text, but it's okay. We're just gonna get going here.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. It is October 7th. Wow. 2024. Episode 780. Today, Weather Mod Gods. That's right. My name is Gonz, director of the Age of Deceit Films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from the land of Newscum. Yeah, Newscum making the news today to bring the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's emergent phenomenon, it's birthday time. I'm looking at the Canary Cry calendar, and lots of great information on that, as always. Join the supply drop if you'd like one for next year. Actually, I don't know. It might be too late for that. But today, October 7th, of course, the 1 year anniversary of... I guess 1 year since the October 7th attack with Israel and Palestine, that whole situation with Gaza. But it is also Vladimir Putin's birthday. Happy birthday, Vladimir. And the founding of Fox News. I believe Fox News is, what is this? 38 years old now? Or 28 years old? 28. 28 years old, Fox. Congratulations. Good job, Fox. So, there you go. That's what's going on. Okay, I'm solo today because Basil is... he's wrapped up in a warm blanket. He's drinking some water, probably, and he's snuggled up next to his emus, and he's ready to go. His emus did travel with him to Europe, so it was. I don't know how he does it. I'm not sure how he gets by customs and all that kind of stuff. Somehow he gave the emu some kind of citizenship, and he gets through all the doors. I don't know what's going on there, but he is in a country where it is very late. And so for the purposes of today's episode, I did sit on him. Sit on him. Did not sit on him. I sat with him on a call for a little over an hour and to help formulate or put together today's episode. So we got that going on. And before we get into anything at all, though, I do need to update everybody on another strike on the YouTube channel. The Canary Cry News Talk YouTube channel just received another strike. It was for the last episode, I think. Escalate Chaos, ME Booms, VP Debate, Cyborg Shamanism. And I got the strike for medical misinformation. So if anybody can let me know what I said, YouTube, on the last episode to get us this medical misinformation strike again, let me know. I'm curious. I did go through the whole process. There's a whole funnel that YouTube takes you through. Watch your video. And it's the whole video. It's the whole 2.5 hour episode or whatever. It's like, okay, that doesn't really help me. And then it says, get caught up on the medical misinformation, community guidelines, all that stuff, which we're pretty familiar with here because we've been falsely accused, I would say, of medical misinformation, of cyberbullying, all kinds of stuff over the years, and even conspiracy theories and all that stuff. So not surprising, but that's why the last episode is no longer available on YouTube, which is why you probably want to just hop on X, hop on Rumble. That's our two biggest platforms that we're using right now in terms of the show. And of course, for those of you who have supported us with canarycry.tube, we are looking into building and figuring out all the parts to build our own resilient way to stay afloat in this time of cracking down. And of course, everybody's going to have to do it and have been building that kind of stuff. It's just a matter of, how much gets hijacked, how much just becomes the alternative versus true independence. And that's going to be important as we go forward here, because we noticed the change here at Canary Cry. And just if you've been with us for years, we've gone through the change. We went through the liberal world order, then that get torn down basically at this point for a techno-populist uprising. And through it all, there are always vehicles that people tend to jump onto. And for example, Rumble, right? Rumble's pretty old now at this point. They've been around for a few years. And it took a while, but they are one of the chosen platforms to carry on videos of the type of videos that get censored on YouTube. But of course, State Street, BlackRock, these are large institutions that own a large amount of stock in Rumble as a public traded company. So you see how these institutions, these organizations hedge, and they play the political paradigm, the right-left paradigm, basically as well as anyone, mostly because they probably have a lot of the cues, and they're the ones facilitating how the money trickles down, so to speak. But it does indicate that we may be entering a period, a few years, perhaps, maybe 4, maybe less, where conservatism gets to reign in a sort of, in terms of applying it to governance, especially, and it's going to test all of our ideologies, what we believe as freedom to be, all those issues, which has been ongoing. But it's very important to understand as we go through all this chaos and the swings and all this, what you stand for. Here on the show, we stand for Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. I mean, it's point blank. That's our message. All this other stuff we talk about, we deconstruct in a very unique way because we're looking at it through not just biblical prophecy, but a lot of the ancient Near East views of Scripture, which includes supernatural entities and events and really the totality of the world, of reality, being not just a confined empirical box of physical stuff, but more than that, including entities and intellects that are beyond just the physical. So we consider all that as we break down everything happening in the world. A lot of important scriptures that we point to, Ephesians 6:12, about the armor of God and really why we need the armor of God as a supernatural protection, a supernatural thing that protects us from these evil entities who are really trying to take us out in many different ways. It may not be just death, or it may not be one thing or the other. It might be causing you to sin, causing you to slip on certain things, or whatever it may be. It's a battle that is beyond just the physical. The physical stuff is the symptoms, the manifestation of what is happening in the spiritual realm. So in that regard, it's important to remember, as we are less than, or what are we, about 30 days till the election. And I know maybe this is something that's been going around the church, sort of the Sunday service message around the election time. Maybe you've heard this one before. But my pastor, he's not technically my pastor yet, but the pastor that we've been attending, the church we've been attending, mentioned this in his sermon the other day. And I thought it was pretty important to repeat, just to repeat. And it's a question. Basically, the question is, and this is a very political type of question, would you rather hang out with a believer who votes different from you, or a non-believer who will vote the same as you, right? It puts people in a quandary because it really shines a light on, hey, what's really important? And I also liked the idea that politics is a purpose in life, but not the purpose of life. And also that there is a supernatural politics going on that we don't consider enough. In the world itself, we don't consider that enough as part of how things are happening, why things are happening. And once you do that, you start having that peace that I talked about, I think in the last episode, the peace that surpasses all understanding, the peace of God. So that being said, I'm not going to do a disclaimer. Actually, now that I think about it, did I not do the disclaimer last episode? Somebody has to remind me, because maybe I feel like I did. I feel like I did play the disclaimer, and still doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Medical misinformation. Gons is some kind of World Health Organization heretic trying to destroy West. I don't know whatever the note is on us or on me. Whatever, bro. Whatever. You guys can go do whatever you want, but we're just gonna keep chugging along. You're not gonna keep us down. We'll keep moving, and that's how it's gonna be, folks. That's how it's gonna be. We're gonna jump right into stuff because there's so much to talk about in today's episode. And again, Basil did help me shape the episode today, so his fingerprints are on the episode. It doesn't mean that I won't say anything that is cancelable, but the same nanny isn't in the room. The YouTube nanny is not here to police us today, or maybe they are. Maybe retroactively, they do retroactively do stuff like that. So, all right, we're gonna kick it off with some Newsom.
It's Newsom science, baby! Ha!
Love Newsom.
The evidence is simply overwhelming. Masks keep Californians healthy.
Man, what a snake. I mean, every politician lies, right? We know that. But come on. Of course he said, that was a quote from Newsom back in 2020, when he made that I believe it was a $5 billion deal with a Chinese car making company to make masks for California. And remember, they came in huge boxes, and by the time they got here, I mean, it was too late. People were over that whole thing. Good way to spend your money, Newsom. Your $5 billion. Actually, I think he was basically washing billions of dollars through California for some Chinese billionaire or something. I think that's what was really going on. But anyway, this is coming from KSL.com. California outlaws voter ID requirements. Here's what Western states say about voter ID. Okay, all right. I wanted to take this from a non-California angle, a report, KSL.com, being I believe it's a Utah outlet, Salt Lake City. And I did that just to, I don't know, when you take something from like an LA Times or something like that, it's straight propaganda, and it's, I don't know, it makes me angry. So I don't necessarily want anybody to have to deal with that per se. But let's see what this says here. Billionaire Elon Musk Elon is everywhere, by the way. Elon is like taking over the entire world. Criticized California Governor Gavin Newsom for signing a bill last week that would outlaw local counties in the state from requiring identification to vote. Quote, "Wow, it is now illegal to require voter ID in California. They just made preventing voter fraud against the law," Musk wrote on X on Monday. The Joker is in charge. The bill came in response to a ballot measure passed in Huntington Beach in March that mandated showing proof of photo ID when casting a ballot in city elections. It was set to go into effect in 2026. A month later, California Attorney General Rob Bonta and California Secretary of State Shirley Weber filed a lawsuit against the coastal city over the voter ID ordinance. Bonta argued at the time that the law goes against the principles of democracy. According to a press release, which we won't read, it doesn't matter, the California Attorney General asked the court to block the bill and vowed to continue defending voter rights. Meanwhile, the state's legislature proposed a bill targeting the Huntington Beach law. California is one of 14 states that does not require ID when voting, as per the National Conference of State Legislature. And they list a bunch of states here that what they require basically to vote. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but in most states, it requires ID. Some states, multiple IDs. But Oregon, Nevada, and New Mexico, at least on the western states, no documents required to vote. And apparently now California added to that list. So, we know. It's funny because, 2016 vote, the integrity or the confidence in elections was maybe, it's always been a thing. It's always been a political point. You go back to the John Kerry, Kerry Bush, 2004, maybe it was 2000 even, where I think Kerry came out and said that there was, voter fraud, not voter fraud, but some kind of scam that caused it's a narrative to play. If you lose, it's a narrative to play. It's kind of a low bar narrative or low hanging fruit narrative, but it happens. But as time has gone on, the evidence that there's a lot of shenanigans going on is piled up, and the confidence in our elections is pretty low, which is interesting that we're still doing it. We're still going into this elections and everyone's going to vote. And I look, I can understand in the context of right now, if you're, it's like the ant and the mural. Have you guys heard the ant and the mural analogy for God? Because I think it applies. It applies in so many different ways. The ant in the mural analogy is that the ant is traveling, and all the ant sees are these hills and mountains and valleys and different textures and, all kinds of crazy stuff. But he thinks life is hard, right? The ant's like, man, life is hard. Like I just keep moving. I keep moving, going up. The landscape is crazy. I don't know where I am. But then you pull back and you realize that what the ant was traveling on was this beautiful painted mural, And so the idea being that God is sort of the bigger picture. He's in control of everything. And in the same way with the elections, we are the ant right now. Everyone's an ant. They're like, most important elections. And maybe in this little valley that we are in, that statement rings true in this moment. But how it plays out in the long term, how it plays out in bigger timelines and everything, generationally, all that stuff, probably a little bit different picture. And probably, the way I see it anyway, and I've said this for a while, is that we'll probably go through a pretty good period of a few years, maybe even a couple years, maybe a decade, who knows, maybe a couple decades, and then it'll just get worse and worse again. It is a wave. It's a pendulum that swings. You can see it with the third industrial revolution. There's pushback while it was happening, people saying that it's wrong, but then bringing all kinds of advancements and getting a lot of people out of poverty, a lot of positive developments, worldly positive developments. But then as it got bigger and bigger, it just created this monster, and now it's a heaping pile of totalitarian nonsense. So in the same way, I think this next wave of tech will bring about a golden age to separate us from that old way. And then it'll be good for a while, and it's going to bring prosperity and all this stuff, and then it's going to crack down. It's going to be the worst thing ever. So that's kind of how I see it. That's how I see the cycles. But in terms of the elections and voting and the confidence people have, pretty low, but we're still going to do it. Elon Musk even said it's the most important elections. Everybody go vote. He's even handing out $47 through some affiliate program that you can get. You can make $47 for every person you sign up to register for vote, if I'm not mistaken. So there you go. That's what's happening. But in California, no voter ID. We know I have been saying this also for a while, that California, there's a lot more red happening in California right now than in my lifetime anyway. Maybe, I grew up in California in the 80s and 90s and stuff. So I guess that was the Reagan era. It was more like the milquetoast Republican, right? It was the neocon Republicans. So technically, I guess the state was red in those years. But in terms of in recent history, the last 2 decades, clearly California went super Democrat, super blue, super liberal. And the amount, there are still a lot of liberal people here. Now, I'm not saying that there are not, but the people that are loud about their Trump support is pretty substantial. It's pretty substantial. I think people across the country and the world underestimate the amount of country there is in California. I don't think people realize that. The big cities, San Francisco, LA, yes, cesspool of satanic nonsense. But in terms of greater just California as a whole, a lot more suburban areas, a lot more conservatism going on than people realize. So that's why I think a lot of the voter fraud type of stuff, California was actually ground zero for a lot of it, in my opinion. Maybe not entirely, but in terms of some of the ways things happen across the country, I believe California, and even the way Newsom got into office, perhaps, with some shenanigans going on. But in any case, I have another story here, moving from California to Arizona. We will not go through every state and their capitals. And every young person should memorize that song, by the way. It will become, I don't know, if we start adding states or if we start taking away states, it'll become a relic. That Animaniac song, that's the countries. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of Ohio. You can learn the whole thing. And then you'll be the smartest person in the room anytime somebody asks, hey, what's the capital of whatever? Boom, you can go to that song and get it. So, okay, this is coming from Washington Post. Number of Arizona voters missing citizenship proof doubles. Uh-oh. Phoenix, a failure to document the citizenship status of Arizona voters is now estimated to affect as many as 218,000 people. Listen, folks, they're not illegal immigrants. They're not here illegally. We just failed to document their citizenship status. Come on, guys. It's like if I walk into, let's say I walk into like a really high-end hotel in Vegas or something like that. Just a place where normal people can't go. You're going in through the back door. You get to the special elevator where they got the butler speaking in British accents, whatever. The whole deal. Oh, we're glitching? Somebody's saying we're glitching. Am I glitching, or is brother here on the stream, is he glitching? All right. I don't know. I'm just going to keep going here. So let's see. Oh, last 2 messages unseen. Great. This is good. This is good. So anyway, let me finish this analogy here. Imagine me going to some high-end hotel, and then all these people in suits walk up to me and say, hey, sir, who are you? What are you doing? And I say, hey, I'm an elite member of this hotel. And they say, okay, show us some ID, show us some, whatever. Give us your identification. Look, I don't have the ID. It's not that I'm not an elite member of this hotel. We just failed to document my elite status in this hotel. So if you can just let me through. That's what's happening. That's basically the language here, the way they're sort of framing this. The failure to document the citizenship status of Arizona voters is now estimated to affect as many as 218,000 people, more than double what state election officials said after discovering the mistake in early September. Man. Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, Democrat, announced the new number Monday and said the problem affects more Republicans than Democrats or independents. Oh, it affects more Republicans. I see. Washington Post. Really? Washington Post is allowing this type of thing to be published? State election officials previously said the number of affected voters could change as they investigate the scope of the 20-year-old problem, which began as part of an effort to implement a Republican-led state law intended to prevent rare instances of voting by non-citizens. Yeah, interesting. So now we have, so Trump's leading in the polls, which whatever you think of the polls there. And we'll do a little bit more politics a little later, but I have to imagine if there is an election in 30 days or so, I would have to imagine that the Trump win ensures I'm just thinking back to 2016 when Trump won, and there was a moment of, at least in the circles I was in and people, that was split, right? There was a lot of people thinking that this is the end of the world. A lot of people loud about their anti-Trump or, hate for Trump kind of thing. But also it was the victory of the people that were kind of learning about what was behind Pizzagate and what's behind all this stuff and learning about the conspiracies and the dark rabbit holes and all that. A small victory, a small political victory for people like that going like, yeah, hey, we can make a difference. at the polls or whatever. And I'm just wondering what the play is, because with this election in 2024, because if they let Trump win and they have an election, they let him win, then a lot of the voter fraud conversation goes away. It just goes away, which might be more beneficial if you're playing like 4D, 5D chess. It might be more beneficial to give Trump and give the right and all that, give him a win in the context of politics so that you can regroup. I've been saying this for a while now, that they've already given up this election. They're just like, hey, whatever, we're going to just let Kamala just be the absolute, I don't know, dummy doll or whatever to throw under the bus. Let everybody roll over that body. I mean, everybody from the right, everybody from the left, the Democrat, everybody, let's just reset. So I can see that happening, and having that election fraud conversation go away might be beneficial for that side of the aisle. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Whereas, of course, the other way, if the Democrats win, if Kamala Harris becomes president of the United States, oy. Think about the civil unrest that can cause. And maybe that's what the social engineers want for this country. They want that upheaval. I don't know. I'm not sure. I tend to think that they're going to let Trump win and allow the techno-populists to move forward and have this another wave of quote-unquote innovation. As we get to 2030, maybe some type of technology is going to be slowly released and whatnot that will change our infrastructure. And I document some of that in Age of Deceit 4. So there you go. And since we're kind of down the conspiracy rabbit hole already, we're going to talk a little bit about the weather modification machines.
Geoengineering.
Eco-soldiers and space warriors.
Yeah, and this is obviously a climate change topic as well.
Climate change. Since the beginning of time, man has yearned to destroy the sun. I will do the next best thing. Block it out.
How dare you?
Climate change. Climate change. Climate change.
Mass extinction.
CNBC.com had the headline, how a tiny town hit by Helene, which is Hurricane Helene, could upend the global semiconductor chip industry. Yeah, I don't think I fully reported on everything that was going on there in Helene, or not Helene, but after the Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. I think I touched on it a little bit, but I believe I mentioned how this might be a supply chain issue or a resource issue. I think I said that on the last episode, which was the second, and this is on the third. So, I mean, that's not a difficult play. It's one of the most obvious types of things that if you've been paying attention to this type of pattern, it's been going on for a long time. And they've been doing this to other countries for a long time as well, in my opinion. So let's see what it says here. It says virtually all of the world's supply of a mineral that is critical to semiconductor production comes from one tiny town in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains that has been devastated by Hurricane Helene. Spruce Pine, North Carolina, has no running water or electricity more than a week after Helene ripped through the town of 2200. Roads and railways in and out of the area are severely damaged, according to local officials. See, that's what's interesting. This tiny town, 2,200 people. Now, I am wondering, and maybe there are people out there who have already started to speak out or documented this, have these people, because the inclination is that these people were offered perhaps a deal for their real estate, and they said no over many years and many different ways. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Mines in spruce pine produce the world's purest form of quartz, which plays a central role in the in chip manufacturing and the crystal skulls. No, it doesn't say that. I'm just kidding. But remember those crystal skulls, the quartz crystal skulls? I don't know. Interesting. It's like this world's Dragon Balls. You collect all 12, and then you unlock the Ashken. Not what is it? What am I trying to say? The Akashic Records. Yeah, that's what it is. Now, the town's exceedingly valuable supply of high-purity quartz is at risk, threatening to cripple the $600 billion global semiconductor industry. The natural disaster unfolding in Spruce Pine also highlights the continued instability of global supply chains. Oh, does it now? More than 4 years after COVID-19 drove home to Americans how dependent they had become on imported goods. See, this has to be a Taiwan play as well. Obviously, being the microchip capital, the conflict with China coming to a head with the issue of Taiwan. This is very much tied in with all that. Two companies, Sibelco and the Quartz Corp, extract the high-purity quartz in spruce pine, refine it, and export it to manufacturing facilities primarily based in China and other parts of Asia. Much of the refined high-purity quartz is then used to create a vessel called a crucible, which holds silicon as it is melted and transformed into the wafers on which semiconductors are made. But mining, refining, and shipping are all on hold for now. Let's see. Both Sibelco and the Quartz Corp were forced to halt operations on September 26th due to the storm, which dumped more than 2 feet of rain on Spruce Pine, according to National Weather Service. The companies say there's no timeline right now as to when they expect to return or resume normal practices or operations. Yeah, let's see. The Quartz Corp said on October 1st, in an October 1st statement, that the company has, quote, no visibility, end quote, as to when their operations will be able to resume. Yikes. Quote, this is the only plant in the world right now that serves the semiconductor industry in its entirety, said TechSet CEO Lita Sean Roy, who has studied the quartz supply chain for more than 2 decades. Quote, if something were to happen to those mines, it can put the entire industry on its ear, period. There's no other capability. Okay, let's see. Is there anyone in the comments mentioning how there's people... Let's see. Okay, there's nothing specific yet, but yeah, maybe the offer comes now. Maybe BlackRock comes in now and says, hey, we know you're in a pinch. The global supply chain of semiconductors is way too important to delay any longer. Let us come in with... I don't know, the BlackRock robots or whatever they got going on to take over the plant or, do sweeps or whatever, get you guys back up and running. Or maybe there's a bid. Maybe Elon's in on this. Maybe Elon can come in and say, hey, let me have it. Let me have it. Connect it to Neuralink and Starlink and SpaceX and Tesla cars and boom, there you go. There you go. Now he's got control of the whole thing. So I don't know the details. I'm just looking at, and this is what we do. We don't make claims here. I guess we're not on YouTube, so it doesn't matter. But we're not making any claims. We're simply reading the news and reacting to it. The other thing coming from, interestingly enough, Quartz.com or QZ.com. This headline says Hurricane Helene is hitting America's IV fluid supply. What? Following the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, which has hammered multiple states across the country, IV fluid manufacturing plants are closing as the demand for the supply continues to grow. Baxter International, largest IV fluid supplier in the U.S., is located in North Cove, North Carolina. It is temporarily closed because of the flooding brought on by Hurricane Helene. The AHA added that while the plant is closed for production, the company will continue to assess the damages. They produce 1.5 million bags of IV solution a day. Oh, my goodness. Accounting for 60% of the U.S. IV solutions supply. I mean, folks, this is big. This could, in theory, I don't know if it's going to happen, but in theory, this could price out medical help for thousands of millions of people across the country, because it will... Obviously, simple supply demand, low supply, high demand. The price of these things are going to go way up. Then, the premiums go up. Everyone's paying way more for medical help. And then, of course, people are still stuck on Obamacare. I mean, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And we're post-COVID. This is all part of the Great Reset, folks. The Great Reset. Yeah, I could see this really disrupting, having its own sort of pandemic level effect where Yeah, because a lot of people during COVID, it wasn't so much COVID that got him, that caused people to pass away. It was the lack of care. It was hooking people up to machines they don't need to be hooked up to, getting the types of treatment that they shouldn't be. It was a lot of different stuff, right? It wasn't just COVID, even though, of course, that's how they labeled it. That's how the World Health Organization documents told the practitioners, the medical practitioners and the coroners and all that to label. I know I remember I made a big fuss about it because we went through all the documentation, the presentation documents from the World Health Organization where they said like, hey, yes, if you're labeling a COVID death, here's how you do it. And, one of the things that it said in there was, even if there's no lab tested results that this person had or didn't have COVID, go ahead, mark it COVID. And I was hoping more people would make a big deal about it, and they didn't, or maybe they did in different circles or something. But so stuff like that was going on, and people were passing away. This whole thing with the IV fluid supply could cause a similar type of event where it's not so much a pandemic, it's just more, hey, if you want this type of medical support or medical, help, it's going to cost this much now. Insurance will only cover this much, and now you guys owe way more out of pocket, and most people can't afford it, and boom, boom, there it is. So not a good trajectory on things. And of course, NPR taking the opportunity to make things political. NPR, very leftist outlet here. Listen to how they make it political, okay? NPR.org. Helene recovery is more political online than on the ground. Oh, is it now? I love it. I love how the people instigating politics the most, like making everything political, are the ones that are like, yeah, it's really political on social media. It's the whole thing. Calling the kettle black. It's election season, so maybe it's no surprise that the federal response to damage in Hurricane Helene's wake is a hot topic, especially on social media. However, some of the conspiracies, misinformation, and rumors that circulate are extraordinary.
Are extraordinary.
Sorry if that took you off guard. Enough so that the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, is addressing them directly. Oh boy, here we go. FEMA getting defensive. No, FEMA can't seize your land if it's, quote, deemed unlivable, end quote. And the agency says rumors it's confiscating private donations are false. I could get into deconstructing this whole thing with FEMA seizing the property. It's not technically FEMA that would be seizing the land. It would either be private buyers or large institutions that would be doing that. FEMA wouldn't be the actual organization to do that. They might facilitate it. They might help it by locking things down, but they would not be the. So there's a little bit of a misdirection going on there with that one. And then the second one, rumors it's confiscating private donations are false. Again, if you're accepting money as an organization and that money is not going directly towards helping those people, it's, I guess, tomato, I guess, So anyway, this is how NPR is verbalizing all these accusations. On the ground in Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee, NPR reporters are hearing echoes of this misinformation. NPR reporters. How much do NPR reporters make a year? Do you think ChatGPT will tell me how much an average NPR reporter will make? I'm going to ask it, ChatGPT real quick. How much is in annual salary of NPR, what did I say? Journalists. Let's see what we get. We might not get anything. All right. Entry level, 50 to 70,000 a year. Mid-career, 70 to 90 a year. Senior, high level, 90 and above. All right. Okay. What about reporters? Let me rephrase that to reporters. Sorry, folks. I'm just having fun over here a little bit. NPR reporters instead of journalists. Probably about the same, actually. 50 to 100. Okay, it's about the same range, but we're looking at anywhere from $50 to $100,000 a year for these folks. What do they do? Do they just sit on X? They sit on social media and they... I don't know. I just think there's people doing this for free, and NPR is paying, upwards of $100,000 a year for people to do it. It's just crazy. Anyway, it says here that the NPR reporters were hearing echoes of this misinformation, but they've also found less politicization and a more nuanced view of the federal response, especially in communities that have been without internet access since Helene raged through the region. Okay, so on the ground, there's more nuanced views of the federal response, and the communities without internet are less likely to share those conspiracy theories. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. That's not the craziest thing. Elon Musk's social media platform, X, has been an especially fertile place for politically charged rumors and conspiracies. Sometimes they've been fueled by the billionaire himself. On Friday, Musk fed into a common complaint online that governments are preventing private citizens from offering help to people in need. Musk wrote that his, quote, blood is boiling after engineers and his company SpaceX tried to offer help via helicopters, but, quote, at FEMA wouldn't let them land to deliver critical supplies. We went over all this, and we talked about how Pete Buttigieg responded on X, and whatever barriers were there before, they were gone after Elon sent out a couple tweets and tagged FEMA. And it was kind of crazy to see that that's where we're at now. We're at the behest of the billionaires doing our bidding for the people. And I know people are cheering on Elon because he's representing the constitutional integrity of the country, or at least he's trying to. But to really think about it, folks, it is a billionaire just, on a whim, being able to move mountains. And it's great because he's representing the loud voice of conservatives that are pushing back against the liberal world order right now. But will that last? Or is he kind of like a game where as time goes on, more people fall off the pro-Elon train and the people that are left are going to be the Elon hive mind in the end? I don't know. But there's also something else. There's another hurricane that people are looking at right now, live, and that's Milton. Hurricane Milton, this is according to USA Today. Hurricane Milton grows explosively stronger with 175 mile-per-hour winds. Live updates. Let me do a quick refresh right here. Just make sure that nothing has changed. Hurricane Milton strengthened to a Category 5 powerhouse Monday, driving sustained winds of 175 miles per hour as it rolled across the Gulf of Mexico, bound for what could be a devastating crash along Florida's already storm-battered western coast Wednesday. Yeah, this was... I saw DeSantis on social media saying he's ready. They're ready to combat this thing. Gary Cardone was like shutting down his beachfront property or something on social media. So people are prepared. People are getting prepared for this. And the thing that I find fascinating, beyond just what's going on with the storm itself, is the fact that weather modification, the question, maybe not even the belief, but simply the question about truly what they're questioning is geoengineering, is at an all-time high. I'm seeing people on my Gons X account, which is, I follow a lot of believers and they may not be, people that are into Bible prophecy or whatever, but I'm seeing people that are Christians that have a following and people that are influential in the Christian circles. They're starting to ask questions that I don't think they would have asked a few years ago, right? They're starting to bring up like, hey, so tell me, could the government control the weather? And it's like, wow, we're here. We are at a point now where a majority, I would say, of Americans are at least questioning or asking that question, which is not something that I necessarily expected to happen even in my life, at least in my lifetime. 10 years ago, if you would have said, hey, everybody on social media is going to be asking the question, does the government control the weather? I would have said, you're crazy. You're crazy. It's all that stuff is for the wild weirdos, hanging out on forums on well, at the time it was like YouTube and stuff, or maybe a blog talk radio or something, and discussing these issues. That's not for the mainstream, but here we are. Everybody's questioning it. And at a very pivotal moment in American politics history, a very important elections, the most important elections of our lifetime. So I find that very fascinating. And if you're new to the show, we've documented geoengineering for a long time. There's an episode from 2013. It's Canary Cry Radio. You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. We have another RSS feed, Canary Cry Radio, episode 60. We had a conversation with a gentleman named Dane Wigington, and he was sort of the expert back then, especially on geoengineering. He had all the documents. I don't know if his website is still up. Actually, let me double check. I did have a link to. Oh, it's gone. Is it gone now? Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, he had all the documents published on his website, government documents indicating either plans to, patents for, or plans for controlling the weather. And it's not even really a conspiracy theory. It's not theory anymore. It's absolute documented reality that there are people who have been trying to do this for a long time. HARP is the one everybody talks about. People talk about cloud seeding and all this. And I'm sure there are even more sophisticated technologies that we don't know about, that we are not told about, that can affect the weather, can intensify naturally caused things. And it does beg the question, what does natural even mean anymore today, right? Because even the most basic things of nature seem to be changing with the amount of technology that we are, rolling out into creation. But the names too. The names are always interesting. So we have ABC13.com. Milton explodes into Category 5 hurricane, expected to slightly weaken ahead of landfall. Milton. You know any famous Miltons? I was thinking about that. Like, what Milton have I come across? Either I don't recall a Milton in my personal life ever had. Maybe like a student named Milton something. It's not a totally uncommon name, but the name or the image that came to my mind was Milton Wadhams. Do you know who Milton Wadhams is? There's a movie. It's not a family-friendly movie per se. It was called Office Space. It was several years ago. And there was a character named Milton Wadhams. And he's a very famous moment. He gets bullied by everybody in the office. And he's kind of, let me just read the description here. Milton Wadhams is the often abused drone of Initech in an animated series Milton. Oh, I didn't know that. Along with its live-action spin-off movie Office Space, he's shy, neurotic employee that stutters constantly who works at Initech. He was actually let go from his job 5 years prior to the events of the film, but no one ever told him about it, so he kept turning up to work. That's right. He wasn't paid for 5 years, and he just kept asking about his paycheck. But the boss would steamroll him, right? And the famous, excuse me, I believe you have my stapler. You have my stapler. And they put him in the basement and the whole thing. And here's the part that's interesting. Based on the story and thinking about the storm. Okay, I know this is a little bit of a stretch, but whatever. Due to a glitch in the payroll system, he kept getting a paycheck. His desk gets moved repeatedly over the course of a year, frustrating him to no end. And then he's got the whole stapler issue. And at the very end, he burns down the company or the office because of it was sort of his revenge and getting a stapler. So if there's an analogy to be made about Milton causing damage across Florida, which is very much a red state, is it the one that's been bullied? The leftists, the libs, the libjos, the woke mob, the Karens. Is it them trying to seek revenge and burn down a red state so that they can win? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading way too much into it, which is, that's the fun part about this show. We're just having a good time trying to deconstruct what's going on out there and not be too worried about it because, look, fear is a driving force for action, and there's fear that moves people in a good direction, like a fear of God, a reverence for God. But fear, this kind of fear, government-sponsored fear, if you will, is a different thing. So let's see. Let's talk a bit more. Let's dial into Kamala for a moment.
All kidding aside, of course, President Harris.
We got to take this stuff seriously, as seriously as you are, because you have been forced to have to take it seriously. President Harris.
Where in the world is
Kamala?
Kamala.
What you doing tomorrow?
Newsweek.com fact check: did Kamala Harris offer Hurricane Helene victims $750? Now, this was all over the internet. This really fired up a lot of people. And here's what the Newsweek says. Which Newsweek, by the way, we've always talked about the list, canarycrynewstalk.com. There's a link at the top of every show notes, every episode. It's a link to what is titled, I'm just trying to pull it up here, a resource index of MSM, that's mainstream media ownership, a list that was published by Harvard. I don't know if it's updated now because it says here, 2021. Yeah, this needs to be updated. Come on, guys. Come on, Harvard. You guys need to update this thing. But basically, it gives you a list of mainstream media outlets and their status. Who owns it? What's their reach? That kind of thing. So it's just a resource for people to have when digging into stuff. And in that context, Newsweek, let's just pull up Newsweek real quick. Let me just do a little Newsweek thing here. Yes, we've pulled it up before. 34 unclear funding, since Newsweek was a spinoff from Etin Uzak's International Business Times Media in September of 2018. Newsweek has been owned by Jonathan Davis and Dev Pragad. And let's see, Newsweek Media Group 2018. Okay, this gets really deep into the weeds. I'm not going to read this whole thing. It is a private for-profit outlet that reaches 55 million unique people or unique viewers a month. So, pretty influential, but we know that if the people that are behind it, you dig into it, definitely some interesting ties to some alphabet soup agencies. But it says here in this Newsweek article titled, fact check, did Kamala Harris offer Hurricane Helene victims $750? Notice the spin. Donald Trump Jr. was one of the high-profile Republicans who criticized Vice President Kamala Harris after her visit to see Hurricane Helene's damage in Georgia Wednesday, claiming she only offered those affected $750. The Democratic presidential candidate mentioned the money during a speech in Augusta, sparking outrage from those on the right, who said it was all she was offering to those impacted by the disaster. At least 200 people have died as a result of the storm, which passed over Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Many homes were washed away or badly damaged, while thousands were left without power or access to communications. The outrage on the right over the $750 remark came after claims that other FEMA grants for communities dealing with an influx of migrants could be used in the Helene relief effort. Quote, $750 for Americans in desperate need, many of whom lost everything, including family, Trump Jr. posted on X, formerly Twitter. Continued quote, $250 billion spent in Ukraine with a population of plus or minus 38 million equals about more than $6,500 a person in Ukraine. So, yes, the math is definitely black and white. And I don't think it can be any simpler for the average American to look at this and see how irresponsible our government is currently. It's always been that way. Maybe it's just more in our face because of social media and stuff, but I feel that the you can't deny the numbers here. And I get it's a little bit more complicated. You're talking about aid money for a nation compared to a disaster, although then you start getting into what kind of reserve capital is there truly for disasters right here in America. And if we, the question is raised, like, if we can't deal with this and all we can do, the best we can do as a government is facilitate a measly $750, which is not even like it's not a cut and dry $750. It's, hey, we're loaning you $750. It's not, it's a loan from the government. It's not even like cash in your pocket, really. Yeah, it's absolutely absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And I would imagine it's difficult for people not to see it at this point because it's so absurd. So anyway, so that I digress. I'm going on and on here about all this, but let's see here. The claim that $750 per person was all that was being offered by the federal government was made by others on the social media platform, with one user saying, quote, "I can't believe what I'm hearing," end quote. Good job, Newsweek. During her speech, Harris mentioned the cash disbursements as one part of a larger relief effort. Quote, "And the federal relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, such as food, baby formula, and the like. You can apply now," she said, which of course was a problem. If you don't have internet, how are you going to apply? Harris said FEMA workers were going door to door to get residents the immediate relief money. Okay, did they not just say that people's homes were destroyed? Newsweek, didn't you just say homes were destroyed? So how are you going door to door if people don't have homes? All right, whatever. They were going door to door, giving immediate relief money. What were they giving? Bags of cash to people? What were they doing? While those who had an internet connection could apply online. Yay! Okay, so that was the whole story there, and people were outraged about it. And it gets worse because part of this, I had another Kamala thing. I'll get to the other Kamala thing in a moment here. But there are a couple clips that I want to share that, oh man, it really shows the problem here. This is Mayorkas, I believe. Yes. Mayorkas being, what was Mayorkas' official title here? Let me just double check on that. So I have accurate information. Chairman Green, or Secretary Mayorkas. Yes. Alejandro Mayorkas, official. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Let's see. This is Secretary Mayorkas, official title. I can't remember what he's the secretary of. People in the chat might already know this. Why am I having such a problem finding this identity on the internet? He's a public figure. All right. He is officially the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. There it is. Okay, that's what it was. Secretary of Homeland Security. And this is a before and after. So whoever clipped this, this is Mayorkas talking about FEMA's response to natural disasters. 3 or 4, I think it was like 3 months ago. And then it'll cut to a Fox News report from Mayorkas a couple days ago. So here we go.
FEMA is tremendously prepared. This is what we do. This is what they do. And the key here, Rebecca, is also to make sure that the communities who are potentially impacted are prepared as well. And it's not just hurricanes and wildfires, also extreme heat, which certainly some parts of the United States are already experiencing.
Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas sounding the alarm on FEMA funding right after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Listen.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris administration spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants.
Okay, so you heard him right there. He said it. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the next season. Horrible. If you're trying to get the vote, not the vote, but if you're trying to convince people that FEMA isn't a heaping pile of monkey sewage. You should not say that you do not have any money to help people in need in your home country, while everybody can see how much money is being sent overseas to Israel, Ukraine, and other issues. Really, really bad look. Really bad look. And of course, they need to reply to this. So Washington Post came out with this article. No, Biden didn't take FEMA relief money to use on migrants, but Trump did. WAPO just stuck at like age 12 or something. Like the mindset of WAPO is like 12-year-olds, immature, you know, haven't emotionally, maybe like 5 or 6 years old. Just not it. Trump has been trying to weaponize the Hurricane Helene relief efforts, accusing the Biden administration of failing to provide adequate assistance. As part of his critique, he claims there's no money available for hurricane relief because it was spent already to handle the surge of migrants at the southern border. Well, yeah, WAPO, did you not see Mayorkas come out and say that we don't have funds? You see the optics? I think people are smart enough to at least put those two things together. That, hey, he said FEMA's got no money. When he said we're super prepared 3 months ago. So what's the deal? What's going on? And then WAPO goes into the facts. The FEMA is part of the Department of Homeland Security. No, thanks, WAPO, for the facts. On Wednesday, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told reporters, blah, 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 blah. We're expecting... Blah, 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 blah. He emphasized there was plenty of money to deal with the current disaster. Whoa! What? I love this. So they have the same quote here, right? We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. Maybe that's Milton. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season, end quote. This is WAPO stepping in, commenting on that quote. He emphasized there was plenty of money to deal with the current disaster. Quote, we are meeting the moment, he said, adding, quote, we have the immediate needs right now. On the continuing resolution, we have funds. But that is not a stable source of supply, if you will. No, that is not, WAPO, that is not saying that was not an emphasis on having plenty of money to deal with the disaster. Just, okay, the current disaster, maybe, but nothing beyond that. Again, it's like being an ant. Like, oh, we got the solution for their little thing, but you're not paying attention to the bigger picture. You're not seeing the mural. WAPO, you're paying attention to the valley right in front of you. Okay, this stuff gets me angry. When I was putting this together, and I told Basil this before we started today's episode, or I started today's episode, which was, I feel like reporting on stuff like this now it's kind of, I would say fruitless, because I know everyone's at a different point, right? Everyone's at a different spot. Just speaking from myself, having been doing this type of thing for over a decade, I'm getting fatigue, folks. I'm getting fatigue, and it feels like this type of deconstruction, it's starting to feel like low-hanging fruit for me. And I'm not saying that it is, and maybe it's still important to do this type of thing just so people can see the nonsense. But I don't know. I think I don't have to do this. I think most people are smart enough to see this type of stuff on their own, but maybe not. Maybe not. Just to wrap up this little segment, we have, let's see, what do I have here in my notes? I'm sorry. KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre. They made a side-by-side of her. This time, the first clip you'll hear is JKP. What is it? JKP? What am I missing? KJP. I'm sorry. KJP. October 2024, and then you'll hear September 2022. This is concerning the migrant issue. That was the point about the last WAPO article, that Trump basically said that FEMA doesn't have money because they're using it on the migrants. And WAPO said, no, that's not true. Trump used more FEMA money on migrants than Biden did. And then people started sharing this clip of Jean Carrie Jean-Pierre. Jeez Louise, I am not, what's her name? KJP. I can't keep up with all these acronyms. Secretary. Why is this taking so... Everything's taking so long today. I'm sorry, folks. Apologies for that. Karine Jean-Pierre. Okay, yeah, here she is. 2024 and then 2022.
No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants.
Okay, it started looping there, but yeah, you see the contrast there. Her saying that, hey, we didn't use this for migrants, and then years ago saying, yeah, we use some of it for, disasters. The states can use it however they want, which I don't think is what happened here. But then, yes, at the end saying, like, yeah, we're using it for migrants as well. Again, I feel like it's low-hanging fruit type of stuff because it's just so obvious at this point, and it's really ridiculous. They want people to vote for Trump. It's a weird feeling. It's a weird type of thing going on. They're throwing their own selves under the bus and letting the nonsense unravel. And maybe that was... I always tend to think, at the very least, spiritually it's guided, of course, ultimately, sovereignly by God. But in terms of the hierarchy and the watchers and trying to manipulate society and things like that. Yeah, I think they wanted this outcome. They wanted the nonsense to galvanize and create what seems to be common sense, but that might be a trap. It's a trap. Might be a trap. Just saying. Not right away. You can't set a trap like this and bring the teeth or the whatever, the guillotine or the net or whatever you're using for the trap. You can't bring it down right away. You got to wait. You got to wait for everybody to jump on board, and that's when you can bring that sledgehammer down. So Newsweek here, this is the last Kamala thing. Kamala Harris gets stuck on repeat and teleprompter glitch. I think she glitched. I don't think it was a teleprompter. I'm pretty sure she's the one that glitched. This is the moment. I'll just play it here. Basically, she was doing a rally, and the teleprompter stopped. Maybe symbolic with the number she got stuck on.
Remember his number, 32. Today we got 32 days until the election.
Uh-oh.
So 32 days.
Oh.
32 days. Okay, we got some business to do. All right. 32 days. And we know we will do it.
What?
And this is going to be a very tight race until the very end. We are the underdog, and we know we have some hard work ahead.
All right, so there you go. She got stuck on 32. It's just kind of interesting. It's almost like, sorry, Kamala, you don't reach 33. You don't get to be Illuminatus. And then just leaving her out to dry. And I really do wonder if there is a true sort of internal conspiracy going on where even her own, the people that are supposed to be Democrats and liberals and support this whole thing, they're even going, oh man, we're really not happy about the direction this is going. Let's make her look really bad. What would happen? What would happen if we just, unplug the teleprompter machine for just a second, just see what happens? I can totally see that happening. Okay, well, things continue to be weird.
Armageddon's on the way.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Hairy COVID.
We will hunt you down and make you pay. This is the United States of America, for God's sake. This is not about freedom or personal choice. Keep yapping, man. need time.
Come on, man. And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
It's called the Omicron.
Just go for days. Go for days.
Distinct minority.
They all want to share their data. Get vaccinated. I wrote the bill.
Oh yeah, do we still have a president? Are we currently, is Joe still the president? Well, apparently he is. Politico.com. Biden crashes press briefing. Whoa, he crashes the press briefing. Joe Biden on Friday made his first appearance in the White House press briefing room since taking office, part of a victory lap following a series of economic wins that include a strong jobs report and an end to the dock workers' strike. Woo! Quote, the past 2 days, we've gotten some very good news about the American economy, Biden said, noting that the International Longshoremen Association and the United States Maritime Alliance reached a deal to reopen ports Thursday evening, averting what he said could have become a major crisis for the country. Yeah. Quote, but today we've got more incredible news, Biden continued, touting the Labor Department's September jobs report, which far exceeds analysts' expectations. Yeah, they're going to fluff up the numbers for Joe, you know. I truly think the only people that want Joe to win truly are some of these wealthy elite who are in this country who have way too much money and perhaps even compromised by the system. And they would like to keep their money train going. The problem is their money train is very hurtful for the rest of at least the country and definitely around the world. And it lost its popularity. The spell has stopped working, although a new spell is definitely upon us. I'll get to that in a second, because I don't think people are realizing what, well, maybe they are. Maybe at this point they are. It's about the dark MAGA. We'll get there in a second here. And then it says, quote, hey, folks, my name is Joe Biden, end quote. The president joked as he walked in. Quote, welcome to the swimming pool. What a weird thing to say, bro. What are you saying? The reporters let out an audible gasp as the president strode into the briefing room unannounced, underscoring how infrequent his unscripted moments are for Biden. We really need an unscripted moment for Joe. Oh, why doesn't he crash the press briefing? Welcome to the swimming pool. You know why that's extra weird to say? Because this whole jingle.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs.
His whole hairy legs thing was when he was talking about being in a pool with children feeling his leg hairs. It's not a joke. That is exactly where that clip comes from. When Joe was talking about being in a pool, I believe he was talking about black kids. Black kids, how they liked his blonde leg hairs. And then be in the pool, and they'd be playing with his leg. I mean, the weirdest thing, right? So for him to come out and be like, hey, welcome to the swimming pool. It's like, bro, what are you saying, Joe? What are you saying? I mean, we're one step away from Joe pulling up a pant leg, busting out what are those razors called? Suave or something, and like shaving off like a streak of leg hair. And then like presenting it to the black community. I don't know. This is crazy. It's so crazy that he would say that. I mean, it's one thing to crash it. It's another thing to say, welcome to the swimming pool. What in the world? What in the world? Okay. Well, I mean, goes on and says some stuff, you know, how he hates Trump or whatever. Oh, man. What a time to be alive, huh? What a time to be in this country and in the world. Okay, let's get to Elon here. We're gonna start wrapping it up here. How long have we been going? Hour 19. All right, we're doing okay.
We will launch a new age. I am
innocent. Innocent.
They're coming after me.
They love killing.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
Aha! Trump-Elon alliance is here. And it is here with magical powers. AP.com The Associated Press, the number one intelligence news outlet. Elon Musk makes his first appearance at a Trump rally and casts the election in dire terms. Casts. Interesting. Yeah, it's like casting a spell, huh? Oh, yeah. If there are, I do appreciate some people with links if they're sharing it, but don't necessarily click on links, random links, unless you know where they're coming from. People in the chat appreciate those who are sharing it if it is just a blog or something like that, but there are other means to safely do that. So if you are in the chat, don't start clicking links, folks. That'll become even more important as we go into Web3. Don't just click links. You can lose all your money. Billionaire tech executive Elon Musk casts the upcoming presidential election in dire terms during an appearance with Donald Trump, calling the Republican presidential nominee the only candidate, quote, to preserve democracy in America, end quote. The CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, who also purchased X, Musk, joins Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday at the site where the former president survived an assassination attempt in July. So, yeah, he was back. Trump was back on the same stage where he was shot, and it was a very emotional and powerful rally. It says here, Musk said, quote, "This will be the last election if Trump doesn't win," which is a weird thing to say, again, with the weird lingersome, what is the name? Sorry, I'm doing this off the top of my head. Who's the author who wrote The Last President in 1895 or whatever the year it was? Ingersoll Lockwood? Ingersoll, trying to remember the exact name. Something like that. Yeah, Ingersoll Lockwood. That's right. Yes. Ingersoll Lockwood, 1900, the year 1900, 124 years ago, wrote a book called The Last President, which is interesting. It's interesting. Trump is, and even Trump, remember he made the comment at the evangelical thing. He's like, "Vote for me. It'll be the last time. You won't have to vote anymore." And you kind of went like, "Wait, what? What do you mean you don't have to vote? What do you mean you don't have to vote anymore? Is that because you're talking to a bunch of old people? Are you making a joke, or did something slip? Who knows?" Wearing a cap with the, quote, "Make America Great Again" slogan of Trump's campaign, Musk appeared to acknowledge the foreboding nature of his remarks. Quote, "As you can see, I'm not just MAGA. I am dark MAGA." Dark MAGA, folks. Elon just said he is dark MAGA. Now, this is something that I pointed out at the beginning. There are some people who've done the breakdown. I haven't made any, exclusive content about the magic of MAGA. We've gone on rants about it in the past. Basil's gone on rants about it. How MAGA itself represents chaos magic, and it's a very effective form of chaos magic. Netanyahu and some rabbis used it as part of their electioneering back in the late 1900s, or early 2000s, or whenever the first Netanyahu election was, handing out amulets to help with the election of Netanyahu in Israel. Very similar with the MAGA hats, right? But something that, and I get it, okay? I'm not saying that everybody who represents MAGA are out here doing chaos magic and that they're dark magicians and any of that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply talking about the chaos magic and the meme magic that is MAGA, the symbol of MAGA, what it represents and everything. And we had pointed out before, if you go to thechurchofsatan.com, okay, this is straight up thechurchofsatan.com. This is not some parody site. It is their real site. They have a page called Hierarchy in the Church of Satan. And this is the Anton LaVey style of Satanism. So it's more of like an atheistic version. Remember, there's a difference between Satanism, or a sort of Church of Satan, and the Satanic Church. Satanic Church worships Satan as the light bearer, Lucifer. They're more like they're more theistic about Satan, whereas the Church of Satan, this Anton LaVey version, is more atheistic in its approach, more nihilistic almost, and they use Satan as a metaphor for their stuff. And look, from the Christian spiritual perspective, it's like, all right, one's just honest about who they're worshiping, the other one's a little more shady about who they're worshiping, but it's all kind of the same, right? But on this page about hierarchy in the Church of Satan, it has the different degrees. I've shared this before. So you have registered member, no degree. Then you have the active member, Satanist, your first degree Satanist. Then you can become a witch/warlock, which is second degree. And then you have the next level, which you can become a priestess or a priest. That's third degree. Then you can become a magistra or magister. That is fourth degree. And the fifth and final degree listed on the Church of Satan website, you can become a magus or a MAGA, which is fifth degree Church of Satan. I'm not making this up. This is just what it is. Maybe it's a horrible coincidence. Or maybe there's something more to it. But it's one of those weird things, right? And so for Elon Musk to come out, the guy who's got the upside down cross and the whole, Satan suit and all that, maybe this is new for some people. It looks like some people are not familiar with this information in the chat. This is right off the Church of Satan website. So you can actually go there, look for the hierarchy page, and it's there. It's there. So for Elon to come out and say, yeah, I'm dark MAGA, it's if you look into what that might mean in this sort of esoteric or occult way, that's kind of weird, folks. It's a little weird. And also, everyone was pointing out his jump. When Elon showed up on stage, when Trump announced him, Elon did this jump, like this two-handed kind of leap onto the stage, and it looked kind of ridiculous from the angle I was watching. But Elon's known to do that kind of stuff and make a scene and whatnot. So that's not a surprise. There are some people on social media. I thought this was fun. Somebody on social media pointed out, billionaire Musk jumps in air twice. Mason symbol. The grand hailing of sign of distress. And they have a side-by-side of Elon with both arms raised in the jump position, and then on the left and on the right, a sketch of a Mason with his hands up with the sign of distress. And on the bottom, there is a sort of a drawing with several panels. On the far left, it's got a blinded person, and it says preparation of candidate in Master Mason degree. Yes, the initiation phase is here. And it goes through all the different levels. And then the fifth level there is due guard entered apprentice. Oh, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, fifth one. Grand hailing sign of distress. So yes, this is a sign of distress in the Masonic world. Which, again, is Elon doing that directly? Who knows? I don't know. But people break down this kind of stuff, and it's fun and interesting. But the other part of it with Elon jumping behind Trump, I found, and I don't know the meaning of this. I'm not saying I fully understand the meaning or anything, but I did find it fascinating that Trump is standing at the podium. This is where he was shot in the ear. And for Elon to do this little leap behind him, to me, I can't really formulate it into words yet because I don't know. I don't have the words for it. But it was sort of like this Elon, I don't know, kind of hijacking the bullet or comparing himself to the bullet somehow in this moment of jumping up on stage behind Trump. But, trying to flip it to be like, hey, yeah, I'm like a bullet, or maybe I'm like a bullet train here to, do the thing. But this time I'm not here to kill Trump. I'm here to save him or help him or whatever narrative. So it's just an interesting parallel. And again, I don't know that he planned this or anybody planned this. And a lot of times with stuff like this, what we say when we break this stuff down is that maybe there was no intentionality from Elon's part to do any of this, to make us any kind of comparison to the bullet or making us a Masonic distress signal. But maybe there's something in the air. Maybe spiritually speaking, we are seeing fingerprints of the spiritual war going on. And somebody said in the chat, maybe it's just spectrum bullet blocking jump. Yeah, maybe that's it too. But it's the same kind of thing where it's like, hey, I'm here to rescue Trump, or I'm here to prevent Trump from getting, or something, some kind of symbolism there. And again, as I was saying, it may not be Elon directly doing this or being told to do this. Maybe it's just part of the spiritual imprint, the spiritual fingerprints on events and moments like this, that people like us, when we're looking at things from a spiritual lens, we can recognize things like that. And by the way, I don't want to necessarily break down the speech. It was interesting. I will say that it was what you expected, but then Elon went really, really hard on voting, which, if you ever rolled your eyes because a super liberal or your favorite athlete went super liberal and made a video about like, get out and vote, make sure to vote, and you're like, oh, so cringe that they're telling everybody to vote or whatever. I mean, this was that exact same thing, but Elon doing the same thing. You must vote. I can't remember what he kept repeating. He kept repeating something and it didn't work on me because I don't remember what it was. What did he say? He said something over and over and over again, and he even said how he's emphasizing that line. I think it was like, go vote or make sure you vote or something like that. He had some kind of mantra that he was trying to imprint on everybody. Clearly, it didn't work on me because I don't remember. But I will say, there was a moment when Trump was doing his speech. This is before Elon came out. Trump was doing his speech, and he stopped. Something was happening in the crowd. We didn't see, at least from my angle, I didn't see what was going on. It sounded like either a heart attack, somebody had passed out, or something. And Trump basically invoked, some medical people to go help out. And he stood there and he waited. And he said, take your time. We're here. We got all the time in the world. He's sort of waiting on things, and he's making comments here and there, but not sure exactly what's going on. Somebody yelled Dogecoin, which was great. But in that moment, the crowd started singing the Star-Spangled Banner. And I'm going to be 100% honest. It got me a little bit. It got me a little bit. This is the power, of these types of events where everybody knows where I stand on this stuff. It's like, yeah, I side with truth, and I've always said that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. That's the most important thing. Politics is secondary to that, and I can agree with one side of the aisle more than the other when it comes to a lot of the issues right in front of us, or whatever, policies and whatnot. But the way that the MAGA stuff is able to really get at the nostalgia of America and the heartstrings of America, they're very good at it. My gosh, I would never shed a tear at a Biden rally or a Kamala rally or something. Like, there's just not enough emotion there to make it happen. But at a MAGA rally, there are very passionate people there. And when they broke out into the the Star-Spangled Banner, man, I was like, oh man, that is choking me up. Because look, I grew up at a time, 80s and 90s, when we were taught a lot of national pride type stuff in this country. And, it was sort of the last bastion, I would say, the last generation before it got super liberal and all that, at least in California. So it was a powerful moment. And it was moments like that where you think, man, it's rigged if they lose the election. Like, you got it. And maybe that's what they want. Who knows? We'll have to see. All right, one more story, and then I'm out of here, and we'll be back Wednesday. We'll thank everybody properly on Wednesday. Thank you, by the way, producers of all stripes. You guys are amazing. You guys make it happen. This is a story on multiple fronts. It's a Russia issue.
Russia.
It's got Ukraine involved.
Fight for Ukraine. New world order.
It's a cyber pandemic.
The COVID-19 crisis would be seen as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber pandemic. Russia.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to not just Fox, but also Vladimir Putin.
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday to me.
Reuters.com headline, hacker attack disrupts Russian state media on Putin's birthday. Published at 5:33 a.m. Says here, Moscow, Russian state media company VGTRK, which owns and operates the country's main national TV station, was targeted in a massive cyber attack on Monday that a Ukrainian government source said Kyiv's hackers had caused. The website of VGTRK, the all-Russia state television and radio broadcast company, was not loading early on Monday, and its Rossiya 24 rolling 24 news or 24-hour news station was not available online. 503 service unavailable. No server is available to handle this request, read an error message when Reuters reporters tried to access the live stream. I love, they make it sound so like, oh, they're working so. Reuters reporters tried to access Russian state television live stream. Like, you went to their website. Like, that's not the hard thing to do. Quote, our state media, holding one of the largest, has faced an unprecedented hacker attack on its digital infrastructure, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters, saying VGTRK was working to overcome the consequences. Quote, specialists are working to find out all the circumstances to understand where the traces left behind those who organized this hacker attack on the critical infrastructure object leads. Blech. Okay, so Putin's turning 72. They coincided with Putin's birthday, which is funny. Ukrainian hackers, quote unquote, congratulated Putin on his birthday by carrying out a large-scale attack on the all-Russian state television and radio broadcasting company, the source told Reuters, asking not to be named. Reuters could not independently verify that assertion. But we reported on it anyway. We're Reuters, yeah. So as we move into or towards 2030, a couple things what we're seeing here, patterns. One, the computing hardware war, supply chains. As we move into quantum computing, maybe a few years before we get there, but hardware will become extremely important, probably be considered as important as, oil, basically. Oil or any other critical infrastructure for survival at a societal level. Computing and microchips and all that. We're already there, basically, but, it'll become a global issue that everyone talks about and becomes dragged into policy and all that kind of stuff. As that continues, hacking will continue, hacking different levels of things, right? Governments, public information, whatever it may be. Maybe Trump has some kind of dead man switch where if they take out Donald Trump in any way, there are documents that would be released that unequivocally show a whole bunch of corruption at varying levels. There could be something like that going on. But all of it will have to do with technology, how we store it. That's a trend. And also that trend leading up to China and the conflict with China over Taiwan and over the semiconductors there. So all of it seems to be supply chain of resources and goods, mainly computing resources, which, by the way, all of this is underpinning the crypto markets. Cryptocurrency's legitimacy being assisted by the legitimacy of the importance of the hardware, starting with the microchips. So this is all where the world is headed. And stay grounded, folks. Stay grounded because things are going to continue to get weird. People are going to do weird things, say weird things, do weird things. We are already living in a cyborg type of world. Jesus said that his return will be as it were in the days of Noah, which doesn't mean just the flood. Noah lived 650 years before the flood. So Jesus was clearly talking about an era that God wiped out. And the thesis here has long been, or at least my thesis personally, and I know many of you out there, has been that the antediluvian world, which was the world before God's great flood, was an advanced type of world, perhaps where the Atlantis mythologies come from. In fact, perhaps where all of the mythologies of the gods comes from. If you study the B'nai Ha-Elohim, the sons of God and the daughters of men in Genesis 6, compare it to other ancient mythologies, including Greek, Roman, even Sumerian, the earliest mythologies out there. They have some very common features, and it has to do with entities from somewhere else mating with human women and creating a race of giants. But also, other extra biblical texts from that era describing the mixture, not just of these entities and humans, but mixing of all kinds of animals and plants and really corrupting everything. And if even 1/10 of that is true, and Jesus said, hey, as it were in the days of Noah, I think we're seeing it. It's hard to deny that we're seeing that type of manipulation of not just creation, but our own biology. We're at that level now. There is no other time in recorded human history that can even relate to these moments that we're in today. And it's the ancient past that is, not acknowledged academically, right? But is stored in mythology. And I think the Western world, one of the big, not problems, but I guess just the, a main tenet that shaped what the Western world was this idea that supernaturalism is not a thing, that, empirical data, those are things. But as we move into quantizing and empirically analyzing things that are not physical, namely quantum realms, then we just get into the wild, wild world where anything is possible, truly. And that's what God said would be possible at the Tower of Babel after the flood, when Noah was probably still around 350 years or 300 years later, where the people building the tower, they were as one, and anything they imagined to do would be possible. Why would God think that's a bad thing? And in fact, there are many people who are in the sort of New Age or esoteric communities today who look at that Tower of Babel story and say, yeah, look, Yahweh was a bad guy. He didn't want humans to advance. Look he's holding back technology. He's holding back whatever was being built at the Tower of Babel that would allow humans to accomplish anything. And, but maybe it just wasn't time. God is in control of everything. He's sovereign. So maybe he was allowing, or he was preventing it at the time then, so that Christ can come, and then, inevitably all those things would start to happen again. And when they do, it may signal the return of Christ. Because if we're going to mess up creation that much, it makes sense. I've always said this. The heavens will recede like a scroll. Mountains and oceans moved out of its place. What could possibly cause that level of rearranging? It would have to be a total reconstruction of reality almost. And that sounds crazy. But a new heaven and a new earth. What does that mean? What does that look like? And can you find hope in that? Do you find hope in that? If you believe in Jesus Christ, you're supposed to have hope in that future reality. But I don't think enough believers do that. I think, especially right now, everyone's caught up in the politics. So it's hard to have these discussions, but it's important to do. And maybe it's even more important to do during times like these, so that people don't lose their gourds over, the elections. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you to all the producers. Again, we will thank you properly. I believe Wednesday we'll be doing that. We're going to try to do it Wednesday. Jonathan F., I see your submission today. Thank you for that. It's a Tim Walz jingle thing. It's funny. We'll play it on Wednesday. I think Basil's going to try to be here on Wednesday. We worked out a time with the time difference and everything, and I think we're going to make it happen. So it'll be early Wednesday. We'll go live and hopefully catch up on all the producers. And that is it. That is it, folks. Appreciate you all. Thank you, especially the monthly producers. You guys keep the lights on, truly. And we're truly grateful for all of you. Thank you to all the producers coming in with their time. I know it's tough sometimes, especially like the time stampers and the clippies. You guys are great, dedicating your time to help us out. Help us out, because it really, truly is a team effort here. As much as it seems like it's just me and Basil sitting here yapping all day, it is a team effort. There are people behind the scenes doing a lot of things to make this happen. So appreciate all of you. Share the show with friends and family. Do that. Word of mouth is still the number one way to get out there. We look at our metrics and we see that, they're pretty flatlined. We're not really reaching new people right now. And we're not marketing geniuses here. We're not here we don't even have a marketing budget. Our marketing is like, hey, maybe we should, throw a few bucks at No Agenda, support them for value, and maybe Canary Cry can be mentioned there or something like that. We do have some plans for some more creative ways to do quote unquote marketing in the future. But we'll get there when we get there. One way you can get people to check out the show It's an analogy we use here. It's a rattling the cage analogy, you know. And you can go up to them. You can grab them by the shirt, the collar. Don't hurt them. And then just start shaking them.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
Oh, why did Ultron reference Noah in that Marvel movie? Yeah, you know, we play this at the end of every show, and I think it goes over people's heads at this point. Maybe not. Maybe you guys, for those of you who have been here, you know. But if you're new, this was a line from I can't remember which Marvel movie it was. It's the one with Ultron.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
They will have every opportunity to improve, but if they don't, ask Noah? What does that mean? Maybe they're going to destroy the world? He's going to destroy the world? I remember Ultron is an AI. So, there you go. Okie dokie. What do we got? Wednesday will be Curious Events Day. Oh, Curious Events Day. And by the way, I forgot to mention this during the show. October 13th of this month, not only is it International Skeptics Day, but it's also 1947 Project Surus, first U.S. government attempt to disrupt a hurricane by cloud seeding. 1947. So the anniversary for that, and then also the National Weather Modification Policy Act signed in 1967. All that happening later next week. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Remember to stay safe. God bless. And remember to think outside the cage. That's it.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
This is the United States of America, for God's sake.
Lives in the cosmos, children in the space lane.
I'm an adult in a spaceship.
Supersonic space lane screamed to life and the vehicle swooped upward. On board, the passengers experienced 3 G's of force from the burst of extreme acceleration and watched the blue sky fade into space.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Oh, yeah.
In the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Yes. Do it, Richard. Do it, Jeff. Do it for humanity.
To all you kids down there, I was once a child with a dream. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship.
He can accomplish it. You can too. Big windows, cool. Rocket ship, cool. Space plane, cool.
Nukes,
cool.
Blowing stuff up,
cool. Space plane, astronaut, rocket ship.
Previous anchor,
We have Bezos. He's a human. Just look at him. Go to the bathroom in bags. He can go to the bathroom in the cosmos. It changed everything. Wives in space. Children in the cosmos. With your best friend brother. Wives in the cosmos. Children in the space lane.
We are headed to space.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact. Fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Necro-capitalism.
Profiteers of death.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on. Fat and sassy in my people's zoo. I'll make you fat and sassy in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you, yeah, you, in my people's zoo.
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
Bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cried back support.